Good morning. Right now I'm in my backyard in Minnesota and getting ready to fly to my hometown of Upperville, Virginia to share with you uh, part of the local town's history that happened. And it's important to me because for 9 years I was in my hometown's fire department, and for the past 16 years I've worked in aviation. And on December 1st, 1974, just outside my hometown, TWA Flight 514 crashed into the side of the mountain. The town sits in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and more specifically, the aircraft had impacted the mountain in an area called Mount Weather, which is a FEMA government facility. So I'm going to share with you the actual impact crash site, and then at the end of the video I'm going to attempt to give the perspective of the aircraft with a drone coming into and impacting the mountain as close as I can, just so you can have that mindset and imagery of how low to the ground it was, how low close to the mountain it was when it did make impact. The aircraft, the flight was going from Indianapolis International Airport and was supposed to be landing at Reagan International Airport. It did not, well, it was DCA National Airport at the time. It's been renamed to Reagan, but at the time the winds were too strong and it could not land at DCA, so it had been diverted to Washington Dulles Airport. After the investigation, the NTSB had found that there was a common term used between ATC, air traffic control, and pilots, and each one understood the term to have two different definitions. And because of this, they found was the main cause for the crash. This is the final impact site of the crash of TWA Flight 514. The aircraft would have been coming in from this direction, and it's hard to see, but on the other side you've got a valley and then another mountain ridge. But the aircraft would have been coming in this way and started shearing the tops of trees a little bit further down, and then it came in and impacted this spot here. And they say had the aircraft been 50 feet higher, you're basically on the ridge line at this point, it never would have hit. But from this exact spot, and you can see there's a little memorial set up here, we're about 30 miles from Dulles. So was bound for DCA, diverted to Dulles due to winds, and was coming in from the west here. And due to low visibility and snow and a miscommunication between ATC and the crew not listening to their charts, they impacted the mountain right here. And when you drive this road, there are several areas where the rock comes out, but this is the largest one that sticks out by the road. And it's very strange that it hit this exact part, because, you know, had this not been here, could some of the people survived? Maybe. The investigator said it was the most intact fuselage he had investigated on a crash. And then most of the debris would have been around the rock and then scattered out throughout the woods in this direction. I wasn't alive at the time. My brother was 3, and he says he remembers coming up here with Mom and Dad after the accident. And my entire life, whenever we drove this road, Dad would always point out, you know, he would point at the rock and say, this is where the plane hit. But because the crash happened on December 1st, the first day of Advent, Chris says, my brother Chris, that he remembers coming by here after a few days after it happened, and they were letting traffic back through, and the scene had been cleared up mostly. He remembers seeing Christmas presents, some of them out in the woods here, that would have come from the cargo or the bins that people were bringing to their loved ones that they were visiting here in the DC area. And at some point, someone had built a small stone memorial, like a gravestone, on top of the rock here. But I don't know what happened to that. It has been removed at this point, obviously. But people still come up, put up flags, plant flowers, leave flowers, a memorial of those family members lost. 92 people total, including the passengers and crew, were lost in this accident, preventable accident. So in the aftermath of the crash, after the investigating happened and everyone got done pointing their fingers and trying to figure out what the cause was, the NTSB had already recommended that aircraft be fixed with ground proximity warning systems to prevent accidents from happening. And when stuff like that happens, it takes a long time for the industry to catch up with those recommendations. But this accident in particular really pushed that initiative going forward, and now all commercial aircraft are required to have that ground proximity warning to prevent accidents from happening.